Robin Hood by Sally M. Stockton. Chapter 1. Robin Hood becomes an outlaw. Robin Hood was born near the end of the 12th century. His real name was Robert. He was the son of the Earl of Huntingdon. At that time, England had many problems. King Richard was away on a crusade in the Holy Land. He was away many years. His brother, John, became king. He was a cruel and greedy king. His men were arrogant and brutal. The poor people of England suffered a lot. They paid very high taxes to King John and his sheriffs. Many families died of hunger. One day, the cruel sheriff of Nottingham killed Robin's father and took away his lands. Young Robin lost his father, his home, his lands, and all his possessions. He escaped to Sherwood Forest with his loyal servants. They decided to live as free men in the forest. They didn't want to be slaves of King John. However, the king considered them outlaws. When Robin and his men reached Sherwood Forest, they sat down to rest. Robin Hood smiled at his loyal servants. Then he said to them,
"My friends, Sherwood Forest is our new home. Now we are free, but we are outlaws. Everyone in the kingdom is against us."
"Master, we are not afraid because you are with us,"
said Much.
"Yes, I will stay with you, but you must do what I tell you. We must not become robbers. We must never harm the poor, the old, women or children. We must respect and protect them. We take only from rich merchants, noblemen and fat churchmen. Here is my plan. When rich travellers come into Sherwood Forest, we invite them to eat with us. Then they must pay for their food. They must give us half of everything they have. We then give this money to the poor. Do you promise to do what I tell you?"
Yes, we do, they cried. Robin and the outlaws lived in caverns in the forest. The caverns were a perfect hiding place. They were warm and dry in the winter. In the summer, they were cool. They were happy in the forest. They all wore green clothes and carried bows and arrows. Robin had a horn to give signals. Soon other honest men joined the outlaws of Sherwood Forest, Nat, Will Scarlet, and others. The outlaws were excellent archers. Robin Hood became the best archer in the region. In the forest, Robin and his men practiced with their bows and arrows. Chapter 2. Robin meets Little John. One day, Robin came to a stream with a small bridge. When he began to cross it, he heard a loud voice say,
"I want to cross the stream first."
Robin turned around and saw an enormous young man. He was very tall.
"No, I was first,"
answered Robin.
"Can you push me off the bridge?"
asked the enormous man. He was holding a wooden staff. Robin cut a long branch from a tree and made a staff. Then he began to fight on the bridge. Robin was fast and light. But soon the enormous man pushed Robin into the water. He was very strong. The enormous man laughed. Then he pulled Robin out of the water. Robin started to laugh too.
You are an honest fighter,
said Robin.
What is your name?
My name is John Little. I am an honest man. I fought with good King Richard's men in the Holy Land. I made King Richard's sword and the swords of his men. He is a great king. But his brother, John, is cruel and greedy. I don't want to serve King John. I am looking for Robin Hood. I want to join his outlaws.
Welcome to our merry company of outlaws. I am Robin Hood,
said Robin, smiling.
A friend of King Richard is a friend of mine.
John Little was very surprised. Then the two men embraced and became good friends.
Now that you are an outlaw, you must change your name. Your new name is Little John.
Robin took Little John to the secret hiding place in the forest. The outlaws welcomed Little John with a big meal. Little John was an expert sword maker. Soon every outlaw had a new sword. The outlaws liked Little John because he was friendly and kind. At night, everyone sat around the fire and listened to his stories. He told them about his adventures in the Holy Land. Chapter 3. Friar Tuck joins the outlaws. Will Scarlet told Robin that a big, fat man lived in a cavern near a river in Sherwood Forest. One day, Robin decided to meet him. He went to the river and saw a fat friar who was fishing.
Good morning, young man,
said the friar.
Good day,
answered Robin Hood.
You are fishing in an outlaw river. The fish you catch are mine. You can fish here today, but only if you carry me across the river.
The friar did not like what Robin said, so he looked at him and said,
I can carry you across the river. You are very thin. Can you carry me across the river?
Robin was surprised to hear this.
Of course, I can carry you. I am thin, but I am very strong.
Robin lifted the enormous friar with great difficulty. Then he carried him across the river.
You are very heavy, friar, but I can carry you,
said Robin. At the other side of the river, Robin said,
Now, you must carry me back.
The friar started to carry Robin Hood across the river. But when they arrived at the middle of the river, the friar stopped. He sniffed Robin and said,
Goodness, you smell like an old rat. You need a good cold bath.
And so the friar threw Robin into the cold water. He laughed loudly and then pulled Robin to the riverbank. Robin was angry at first. Then he smiled and said,
You were right. I needed a bath. I feel better now. My good friar, you are free to fish in this river when you want.
Let us shake hands before I go away,
said the friar.
Oh, don't go away,
said Robin.
My name is Robin Hood.
What? You are Robin Hood?
Asked the friar. He was very surprised.
Yes, come and live with me and my outlaws. We are all good, honest men. We take from the rich and give to the poor. We want a friar because we need the word of God. What is your name?
I am Friar Michael Tuck of Fountains Abbey. I had a quarrel with my abbot. He was very greedy and rich. He never helped the poor. He forgot God's teachings. When I told him this, he wanted to punish me. I escaped to the forest. Now I live a simple life.
If you want to live a simple life and help the poor, then come to Sherwood Forest,
said Robin. The two men shook hands and promised to be friends for life. Chapter 4. Wanted, Dead or Alive. Some years passed, and there were more than 200 outlaws living in Sherwood Forest. Robin Hood was the hero of the poor. He continued robbing the rich to give to the poor. Robin Hood called this the Sherwood tax. All the rich travellers who passed through Sherwood Forest paid the Sherwood tax. The Sheriff of Nottingham sent an army of soldiers to Sherwood Forest to capture Robin Hood. But Robin and his outlaws were in the trees. They killed all the soldiers except one. Robin and his men were the best archers of the region. They knew the forest perfectly. They were never afraid of fighting the soldiers of the wicked Sheriff of Nottingham. It was impossible to stop Robin Hood. The sheriff was furious because the people laughed at him. He was never able to capture Robin Hood. King John was furious too. His subjects loved King Richard and hated him. One day, King John stood on the castle walls. He spoke to all his people. He said,
"We must capture Robin Hood and his outlaws. They are our enemy. I can pay 100 pieces of gold for Robin Hood, dead or alive. Bring me that outlaw."
From that day on, Robin's life was in great danger. Chapter 5. Robin meets Maid Marian. When Robin Hood was a boy, his best friends were Marian Fitzwater and her brother Mark. Robin played with them and taught them to use the bow and arrow. He also taught them to fight with the sword. Robin loved only Maid Marian, and she loved only him. One spring day, Marian's father, Lord Robert Fitzwater of Malaset, said to her, "Marian, you are a beautiful maid. Soon you must marry. There is a very rich nobleman who wants to marry you."
"What is his name?"
Marian asked. "His name is Sir Guy of Gisborne, a good friend of the Sheriff of Nottingham." When Marian heard this, she was very unhappy. This was terrible. She did not want to marry Sir Guy of Gisborne. She loved Robin Hood and wanted to marry him. She decided to run away to join Robin Hood. She disguised herself as a knight. Then she took her horse and went to Sherwood Forest. Robin Hood was in the forest. He was coming from Nottingham and was disguised as a beggar. They met in the forest. It was evening, and it was almost dark. When Robin saw the knight, he asked,
"What are you doing in the forest?"
"What are you doing here, beggar man?"
answered the knight. They did not recognize each other.
"This is outlaw country. Go back. You can't stay here. We don't know you,"
Robin said.
"I cannot go back. I am not afraid of outlaws,"
answered the knight, taking out a sword.
"I am ready to fight you."
And so the fight began. Both were experts with the sword, but Robin fell to the ground. The knight said,
"Now take me to your leader. Take me to Robin Hood."
She took off her helmet, and Robin was very surprised. It was his dear Marian. Robin took off his beggar clothes. Marian recognized Robin. She too was very surprised. Then they kissed. There was great happiness in Sherwood Forest that evening. Marian and Robin were finally together. Friar Tuck married them after a few days. There was a big wedding celebration in the forest. Maid Marian was now part of Sherwood Forest. She was gentle and kind to all. Everyone loved her.